The annual cultural and commercial phenomenon to celebrate the birth of the center figure of Christianity is upon us.
Well, what do you say instead? What do you say? People are getting more angry. People are getting hot.
It's getting hot in here.
It's getting hot.
Roses are red, violets are blue. If you think you are getting your gifts on time for Valentine's Day, the joke's on you. The global supply chain shortage is even giving a Cupid a headache this Valentine's Day, as demands for traditional items are up while supply is short. Why small businesses are still looking for the rose amongst the thorn bush post-pandemic. However, if you are looking for that perfect gift for your anti-woke love, we have a suggestion as a local business is capitalizing on a popular political chant. We're going to give you all the details. And almost everyone will suffer a broken heart at some point of their life. And most do move on. However, a broken heart can be fatal. We will discuss why this form of heart disease is on the rise. And to swab or not to swab, as if online dating wasn't hard enough, now you must have to ask yourself, are they worth swabbing for? Well, we're going to explain. And speaking of explaining gimmicks, if you have not watched the popular series on Netflix called Tinder Swindler, we're going to talk about how the popular dating app only removed this international Romeo after he was put on trial in the court of public opinion, rather than when his conviction was in a court of law. We're going to discuss if justice was actually served. And are you suffering from a broken heart from an old flame? Well, Florida police are asking you to give them a gift for Valentine's Day. So would you turn in your ex to go to jail? I'm News.Views, and these are the stories we are covering on this special edition of News.Views.Hughes.
So effective at midnight this Sunday, February the 13th, all provincial proof of vaccination requirements will end.
There could be hope in sight as the Freedom Convoy continues to dominate the streets of Ottawa. And despite law enforcement beginning to arrest individuals, including a 72-year-old man for honking his horn, the movement is growing. We're going to bring you the latest from on the ground in Ottawa. And here in the United States, multiple metropolitan cities have the vaccine and mask mandates remaining in place. However, beginning in May, a $30 million grant program will provide pipes for users to smoke crack cocaine, crystal methamphetamines, and any illegal substance in them, all with the goal of making drug use safer for addicts to advance racial equity. We're going to bring you the details and discuss with our panel. And the newly installed mayor of New York City wants to make his constituents eat a plant-based diet. And he is starting his initiative with the children, including the first all-vegan Friday in New York public schools. Is this a good idea, and is it more about politics than health? We're going to ask the experts. I'm News.Hughes, and these stories plus more on today's News.Views.Hughes here on RT. The City of Ottawa, Canada police chief said at least 1,800 more officers are needed to put an end to the ongoing Freedom Convoy protest in the city as it stretches into the second week. They are using the police they have now to arrest this 72-year-old man and take oil cans and ticket truckers who are honking their horns and blocking streets. Now the cavalry from the south has arrived. A group of men on horseback are now seen in the streets of Ottawa and claim to have come to protect the truckers while also waving Trump 24 and Save America flags. RT's John Huddy has been on the ground in Ottawa and tells us about a convoy of truckers who are blocking a very important commerce point between Canada and the United States.
A convoy of truckers blocked the Ambassador Bridge. For News.Views.Hughes, John Huddy.
Well, now, some could say the mandates and the past vaccine mandates are the reason why commerce has stopped. But there could also be a small win for the truckers because they've shown such force. As Tuesday, the Canadian Premier Scott Moe announced the province of Saskatchewan will end the vaccine passport policy in just less than a week.
It's time for each of us as individuals now to make a conscious effort to treat everyone in our daily lives that we encounter equally. It's also time for the proof of vaccination mandate to end. So effective at midnight this Sunday, February the 13th, all provincial proof of vaccination requirements will end.
Okay, now as you can see by this map, the province of Saskatchewan is a ways away from all of the protests in Ottawa. However, it seems they have heard the message loud and clear and want their commerce to start up again after 2 years. Podcast The Joe Rogan Experience, which airs on Spotify, invited guests who made comments about topics that are now being labeled misinformation onto a show.
The problem I have with the term misinformation, especially today, is that many of the things that we thought of as misinformation just a short while ago are now accepted as fact.
And he's one to live through it. Now, the topics that he's referring to as previously being considered misinformation and would get you kicked off social media and possibly lose your job are vaccinated, not being able to get or spread COVID, we found out to be true, cloth masks not working, guess what, they don't, and the virus originated in a lab. All, by the way, are now widely accepted as a fact or under investigation. But the pressure is now on Spotify as 270 doctors have signed a letter. Podcasting star Joe Rogan was offered a $100 million on Monday, all to leave his exclusive contract with Spotify and sign a deal with alternative platform Rumble. Now, Rumble is posing a challenge to companies like YouTube, Twitter, and Amazon by offering a free speech alternative that won't censor its users. The offer comes amid new denunciations of the outspoken talk host after a compilation taken from 12 years of material shows him appearing to use a very deeply offensive racial slur more than 20 times.
That's our he says guy.
Now, Rogan has apologized and removed a number of offending episodes from the platform, which so far has held firm its decision not to silence him.
It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of me of 12 years of conversations on my podcast, and it's all smushed together, and it looks horrible, even to me. Now, I know that to most people, there is no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word, never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now.
And journalist Ben Swan to discuss this, and we were just talking about freedom handling in Canada. Now let's talk about freedom here in the United States, freedom of speech. Biden administration comments on the Joe Rogan controversy. Yep. The message has been applaud Spotify for adding disclaimers. That's it, the great disclaimer to Joe Rogan's content, and that he needs to call out more misinformation while uplifting accurate information.
We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation. There's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms. All of them remain active on Facebook, despite some even being banned on other platforms. You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation out there.
How scary is that, Ben? The government is telling a platform what they should mark as being misinformation. The government. So how much control does the Biden's White House have over our social media platforms currently? Because it does come at a time when his own administration take on crime has come under intense scrutiny, especially this week, starting with his own White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who laughed at the rise in crime across this country.
And then on Fox is Jeanine Pirro talking about soft on crime consequences. I mean, what does that even mean, right? So there's an alternate universe on some coverage. What's scary about it is a lot of people watch that.
You know, Police Federation responded saying she may feel safe in the White House, one of the most protected buildings in the United States, but not everyone feels safe in their workplace. Pretending violent crimes are part of some other reality will not help victims, Ms. Psaki. She owes them an apology. Now, the statement comes as 24 police officers were shot in January alone, and in the same week, NYPD is burying one of their own. Let's discuss the Biden administration's change in hard on crime, if it really is change. More to do with doing damage control than actually curtailing crime? I will. Is President Biden trying to have his cake and eat it, too? Meeting with former police officers and now the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, bolster the city's response to gun crime, but on the same time, keeping the narrative of too much policing and not even talking about the gang issues that are happening. Well, this week we did see police rally around their own at a funeral of this fallen officer, Wilbert Mora. Procession was attended by a sea of police in uniform who came to pay their respect, saluting the hearses that drove by. Susan Sarandon took that touching moment and decided to say this is what fascism looks like, and if all these cops could be here, then they could not be needed to fight crime. Reaction from both sides obviously critical. We are coming into a society of out-of-the-norm champions. These people are celebrated no matter who they hurt. 16 teammates of transgender swimmer Leah Thompson have written a letter to the Ivy League officials and the University of Pennsylvania saying Thomas should not be allowed to compete. The letter states, biologically, Leah holds an unfair advantage, and her ranks have gone from 462 as a male to number 1 as a female. Thomas could now break Pennsylvania, Ivy, and NCAA women's swimming records, feats she could have never done as a male athlete. We are also seeing a case where a grown man who transitioned to a woman is now identifying as a wolf. Did you follow that? And we're also going to talk about schools where kids are identifying as kitties, asking to use litter boxes instead of bathrooms. Wide spectrum. And if you prefer a traditional lifestyle and don't want to go along with the crazies, guess what? You're getting canceled. So to discuss this world we now live in, I want to bring in Jeremy Murphy, public relations publicist and author of F Off, Chloe, Surviving the OMGs and FMLs and Your Media Career. I did that way too well. You can tell I have teenagers. Thanks for joining me, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, lots of funny stories that are actually reality. And the first time I heard this from my kids, I went, what? But it's true, and it's happening in metro, suburbia, all across the United States. But I want to start with Leah Thomas. We've been following this story. She's broken news for breaking records. The girls were initially scared to come out because they were scared to lose possible future jobs for getting canceled. How is this pressure even being allowed on students today? And I have to ask about, as I mentioned before, we have this video of Naya Okami, a man who transitioned to a woman who now identifies as a British Columbia wolf specifically. She went on this morning to explain how watching an anime show has led to her identity. Take a listen.
Somehow, this wolf is me. It was kind of this automatic association.
Can we ask for a howl? It's like off in the distance.
I mean, I would like to say this was not normal. Kids are starting to call themselves the kitties, and this is different from furries that just dress up. These are ones that legitimately feel like they are kittens, and they're asking schools to provide them with litter boxes instead of using the bathroom. They'll still wear the fuzzy cat ears and but they want to eat their lunch out of bowls like animals. Where does this end? Okay, so he's cute, but is he swab-worthy? The new online dating requirement to meeting for the first time. Would you swab to find the one? Now, not only do you actually have to make sure that you have sparks and that you actually match, but some are actually saying, hey, go get a COVID test before we meet for that first day. Wow, talk about how to kill the romance from the beginning. Do you think this is a requirement, though, is it courteous, or is this actually kind of rude and possibly something that might actually kill that relationship from starting before it even begins? Amy?
Honestly, if you're so nervous about meeting for the first time that you need the other person to get a COVID test, you probably shouldn't be dating in real life right now. Stick to the Zoom, find yourself some socially distanced date.
You're seeing vaccination cards needed to go eat at McDonald's here in many metro cities. Is that going to be the new thing on apps, even to have some sort of activity? Is that they need a COVID card and you're going to need to verify? You need a passport card just to date.
I'm going to say absolutely not. We're already seeing several governors in Democratic states actually dropping their mask mandates. Canada, we're talking about the truckers and everything, their protests, they're causing several provinces to now are dropping all of their vaccination passports and policies. I can't see social media starting to add these on them as well.
Asking social distancing and anxieties over who's vaccinated and who's not. What's one more change coming their way? New federal regulations to limit sodium, boost whole grains, and prescribe the kind of milk students in various age brackets can be served. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack called the efforts heroic because nothing says heroism like tinkering with children's nutrition with rigid new regulations. But New York City schools are taking it a whole step further with a new Friday menu that is entirely vegan. It is one of several ways New York City Mayor Eric Adams is trying to, and I want to quote this, get New Yorkers to eat a plant-based centered life. There's some of the pictures of the food right there. Actually handle at school. Can they get enough nutrition for a day with one meal that they're given at school?
Look, it's all about the education. It's all about the education at home. Eat nutritious food, cook with your family, eat with your family, buy organic. It's going to make a huge difference in the mirror. If you want to be ripped at 56, right? You're going to need organic food, baby. You're going to need it.
You know what? I agree with you on that. Before Andrew starts taking off his jacket, I got to say thank you, gentlemen, for joining me because that's all that we've got for the show. Troy, Andrew, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Oh, let's continue this conversation on Twitter at Scotty on News, #Team NVH. Until we see each other again, stay happy, stay healthy, stay with your clothes on, and stay informed. Thanks for watching.